Party. Peter Schweizer is the author of the new book, Red-Handed, How American Elites Get Rich, Helping China Win, the #1 book right now on Amazon. He joins me this morning. Peter, good morning to you. Thanks very much. Your reaction to what you just heard at that Joe Biden and when we heard from him in October 2020, right before the election.
Yeah, it's a pretty remarkable saying. I mean, I guess technically it's true in that he didn't directly take the money. But as we point out in the book, Hunter Biden complained to family members that he was having to send half of his money to Pop, meaning his father. That's money he collected overseas. And there's plenty of evidence of him paying his father's bills while he was vice president of the United States. And all of that money came from foreign sources. So Joe Biden is being deceptive and not honest with the American people when he makes that statement.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a graphic here of a text from Hunter Biden to his daughter, Naomi, and he says, I hope you all can do what I did and pay for everything for the entire family for 30 years. It's really hard, but don't worry, unlike Pop, Joe, I won't make you give me half your salary. So what was going on? Hunter Biden is rolling in the dough, and he's paying all the family bills?
Yeah, he's paying a lot of the family bills, and some of the money from China we know goes to James Biden. What's important, Maria, to understand is that, you know, people want to think of this as a Hunter Biden problem or just a corruption problem. When you look at the origins of this money, we wanted to look at the deals that Hunter Biden got in China and figure out who opened the door and made those deals happen. And I have to tell you, Maria, of the 5 deals we know of, every single one of them points to an official in China who has links to the highest levels of Chinese intelligence, meaning the vice minister for state security, who has responsibility for foreign recruitments, the former minister of state security's family himself. The list goes on and on. So this is not just a question anymore of corruption, self-dealing, self-enrichment. You have to start asking the question, China had a concerted effort to, let's say, undermine this family, and this family, I would say, we have to ask serious questions about whether they're compromised.
Peter, I want to ask you if this is treason, illegal, and then I want to get your take on the real reason Nancy Pelosi refuses to hold hearings on the origin of COVID. We'll also talk Silicon Valley. Quick break, and then we've got more with Peter Schweizer. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're back with Peter Schweizer. He is author of the new book, Red-Handed. He is president of Government Accountability Institute. Peter, we're talking about the conflicts that Joe Biden has and his family with China. This is not just a legality question. This is an issue of national security. You have reported that the Biden family accepted $31 million. Do you believe this is treason, given the fact that the CCP is an adversary of America?
Well, look, all I can say, Maria, is I'm old enough to remember the Cold War when we were combating the evil empire of the Soviet Union. And it's unfathomable to me that we would have tolerated at that time an American first family or second family of the vice presidency doing business deals with Russian businessmen who are business partners with the highest levels of the KGB. I don't understand why it's different for China. China has the same goals as the Soviet Union. They want to supplant us. So people, I think, in Washington have to get serious about this. This is not a partisan issue. It's a national security issue.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, we've got the evidence right in front of us. This email that we've reported on now for a few years, Tony Bobolinsky, a partner of Hunter Biden at the time, with emails back and forth to Chinese executives, officials, saying, here's how we're going to do the deal of the CEFC oil company, 20% for Hunter. They go down the list of all of the partners. And then at the end, it says 10% held by H, meaning Hunter, for the big guy. So the big guy apparently is Joe Biden. Where is this going? I mean, you know, social media has censored all of this.
They have. And as I point out in the book, the big tech companies, all of them, Microsoft, Google, also have their, I would argue, compromised relationships with China. So it's a big problem, Maria. American elites from Wall Street to Silicon Valley, a lot of them in Washington, D.C., Republicans and Democrats, we name names. They all have commercial ties with China. And look, China's not looking for them to be robots on every issue. As I point out, the China strategy going back to the Mao era, when they forged these relationships, what they're looking for is, loosely translated to English, big help with a little bad mouth. So as long as you're helping them on the big things, they don't care if you occasionally ding them for the Uyghurs or you complain about human rights violations. If you're doing the core stuff that's important to them, they will be happy and the money will keep flowing, and that's the inherent problem that we face today.
Well, it's extraordinary to me that Nancy Pelosi has not had one hearing on the origins of COVID. Why not? Is it because she's conflicted as well? You report about Nancy and Paul Pelosi in the book.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Nancy Pelosi used to be a hawk on China, and then something happened in the late 2000s. Her husband started doing deals in China. He was a partner investor in a investment firm. He held about a $10 million stake in that firm that was investing in mainland China. He was involved with 2 limousine companies. Remember the 2008 Beijing Olympics? Nancy Pelosi initially supported a boycott, but when 2 limousine companies that her husband owned part of got contracts to ferry VIPs around the Beijing Olympics in 2008, she changed her position. Her son also, Paul Pelosi Jr., has also sought deals in mainland China. So this is a problem. And again, she may ding them occasionally on the Uyghurs, but on the big important things like exposing COVID, she has not allowed a single congressional hearing on that subject in the last 2 years.
I mean, that is incredible. Almost 1 million people are dead because of COVID. We know all the circumstantial evidence. There's a lab leak in the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and not one hearing on the origin. She won't bring it to the floor. You also report about Dianne Feinstein. She was the chairman of the Intel Committee in the Senate, while her husband invested in a Chinese computer company that sold computers to the U.S. military. I mean, it's just extraordinary. Big tech is right there. You report on Microsoft and Bill Gates. What can you tell us?
Well, Microsoft, Bill Gates, and also Google sponsor artificial intelligence research in China with laboratories that are known to be linked to the Chinese military. In fact, Microsoft, believe it or not, accepts interns from the People's Liberation Army. Why is this important? Well, President Xi himself has said whoever wins the race in artificial intelligence will gain, quote unquote, the commanding heights in the competition for world domination in technology. So our biggest tech firms are actually aiding and abetting Beijing in the artificial intelligence race against the United States. And there are numerous other examples of Bill Gates investing personally in companies that develop military technologies. And Bill Gates also functions as an advisor of sorts to the Beijing government. He joined something called the Chinese Academy of Engineering, which is not like it sounds. It's a Communist Party controlled organization, and its job is to advise the Chinese governments on achieving technological advancement and superiority. So it's an enormous problem. All the big firms are involved.
Yeah, and let me just point out that under the Trump administration, Google pulled working with the U.S. government and allowing the U.S. government to use its AI because the employees balked. They didn't want to work with Donald Trump. I mean, the story and how this has played out is just extraordinary. They obviously do not think there's a difference if the Chinese empire is the #1 superpower on how their children will be raised. Peter, thanks for unleashing all of this. The expose is a must-read. Peter Schweizer joining us this morning.